What is up, YouTube? I am Eric and you are watching Retro Video Game Pickups. Today we're going to be talking about GameStop and whether it will be bought out or bankrupt. So if you like games, consoles, or product reviews, please consider subscribing and hitting that bell notification. With that being said, let's hop into it. Okay, so if you know anything about video games or places to purchase video games in the US and Canada, you know either GameStop or EB Games is a good place to potentially find good games. Now, am I saying that GameStop and EB Games are the great places to go pick up games? No, I am not. But if you're just out there looking for a game and you want it that day, GameStop or EB Games is probably close to you, and you could probably get the game you want the day of and go play it and go home with it. However, recently in news, lately we've been hearing rumors about GameStop being bought out and being up for sale and all that. And I want to say 2 days ago, GameStop confirmed that they are in the process of getting people to pay for them, because they're starting to lose money and all that. Now, will GameStop be bought out or will they be bankrupt? That I cannot tell you, but here's an idea of what it'll look like if it gets bought out and maybe what it'll look like if it goes bankrupt. So I'm going to start off talking about the buyout, and then if that first day doesn't happen, we are going to talk about a bankruptcy and what that could mean for games and the game market itself. So I do think that GameStop will be bought out. Now, they've been struggling with revenue lately, and it just seems to be that they are on the decline. You kind of saw something when they decided to do the Elite Pro membership, because it kind of gave them more cash in their pockets right then. But down the road, I feel like it's just gonna hurt them. But GameStop has never been a place that makes all their money on brand new games. Used games is where they make the majority of their money, because they can buy a game for 20% of what they're going to sell it at. Now, when they buy new games, they can't quite do that because of the way pricing works and how you have to pay a certain percentage of it. But with the used games, they can determine that price for themselves and give themselves a bigger markup. Now, as of late, my GameStop near me has kind of become a half GameStop, half ThinkGeek. Now, a lot of people either like this or don't like it. I personally do not like it. However, I've noticed that I haven't really seen too many people shopping in the front of the store, which is the ThinkGeek side, because I feel like either people already have the merchandise or they'll go online and get it. But I see people just have to walk all the way to the back of the store in order to get their games. Now, what I could see a buyout happening is I could see like an Amazon coming in and saying, okay, we want to buy you, and instead of really changing it up, I could see them saying, okay, this is a dedicated game store and a merchandise store. Now, I feel like they'll do it a little bit better. Maybe they won't push sales so much or pre-orders, because I know GameStop makes a ton of money on pre-orders, but I see with Amazon being such a broad company and have so much money that they could potentially get more sales out of having a brick and mortar store than they could a, per se, online store like they currently have. Because if Amazon has brand new games being shipped out 2-day delivery to you guys on day one, that's going to cost them money. But they may not have to spend as much money to ship that to you as they would if they had a store in your city that you could say, I'm going to go to this Amazon game store, pick it up, and I can go home with it and play it and not have to wait for delivery or any of that stuff. That might actually speed up Amazon as well, because not as many of people would be picking up the games online. They would go into the store, and potentially this could save you, because when Amazon does their game game sales on day one, you could get it between 10 and 8 p.m. or 8 a.m. and 8 p.m. whenever the UPS or the FedEx or the mailing company comes to you. However, if Amazon was in your town, you could drive up there when it opens at 8 or 10, pick up the game, drive home, still get your 20% discount, and potentially be able to play your game longer, and thus making you want to go to that store more and more, and hopefully building the confidence of the Amazon game store. Now, I feel like that could be a possibility. However, I'm not sure if Amazon's even interested in it, because Amazon is currently the only place that you can continually buy brand new games and get that day one discount for the first 2 weeks. Now, I know Best Buy still does it with the GCU, but that's going away. So I just see that as it's not a thing anymore because you can't actively go out and buy one. Now, potentially, I could see like also a Best Buy picking it up, because Best Buy has new and used games. I could see Best Buy buying GameStop and saying, okay, this section in the back of our store is now a GameStop, or the Best Buy game store. So I could see them doing that. They do sell used games occasionally, but nothing to the scale of GameStop. And that's why I think a buyout could be good, because it might change things with GameStop that you don't necessarily like the being hounded on pre-orders, or being hounded on the scratch protection, or the magazine, or the card, or any of their sales. I think that could potentially benefit the gamer. If GameStop is bought out, they may find someone that comes in and actually is a fan of gaming, and maybe gets rid of some of those slimy, kind of annoying issues that GameStop does have. Now that we have talked about the buyout option, we're going to talk about a bankrupt issue. If GameStop keeps purging money like it seems like they are, they could potentially fall into a Toys R Us lack of money / going into bankruptcy and having to close all their stores or close a majority of their stores. Now, I'm very scared of what that could mean for the gamer, because if you lose both the GCU discount and GameStop in the same year, I think we could really be seeing some power struggles and maybe some game prices on new games going up, because you don't have that GameStop and you don't have as many people buying from Best Buy at that point. Now, one other thing is, if GameStop goes out of business and goes bankrupt, they're going to sell their games off for dirt cheap prices. And what that means is anyone that has expensive games or rare games that GameStop has, GameStop is going to drive that price down. Now, I am not saying that buying games is a great investment. Let's be honest, these games behind me, some of these games are worth a ton of money. But for me, it's not about the investment, it's more about being able to enjoy and play the games. And I know I'm saying that with 2 sealed games behind me, but the sealed games were something I did not expect. But I'm very afraid of those people that are going all in with their money and just pouring money into these games, hoping that they can resell it and make 2 or 3 times of what they paid for it. I think if bankruptcy happens for GameStop, it's just gonna literally pop the bubble that everyone's been talking about. And I could see that being a real detriment to the community and even to collectors. And I think you would see a bunch of video game stuff go crashing, and people wouldn't be interested in it, and it wouldn't be as cool as it is. But I really hope that doesn't happen, because the gaming community, especially the retro gaming community, is really starting to be really strong. And you have your outliers, people that are not the nicest or are complaining, but for the majority of it, I've noticed that retro gamers are legitimately gamers that are fans of these old retro games. Now, with that being said, I'm a little afraid of GameStop going under, because honestly, it'll make those prices plummet. However, on the flip side, if GameStop does go bankrupt and starts purging their games, you know I'm gonna spend way too much money on games from GameStop just because I want to have that opportunity to get some of those games at cheaper prices. Well, that's what I think about GameStop being bought out or bankrupt. Now, if you would let me know and comment below and say whether or not you think GameStop's going to be bought out or bankrupt, or if you have something else that you think GameStop will do in the future to kind of save them from the sinking ship that they've created. But with that being said, don't forget about that Facebook, that Twitter, that Instagram, that Patreon, that Big Cartel. All that stuff is in the description below. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and hit that bell notification. But most importantly, have a good day.